Alright guys, well, I'm back today with a very interesting red dot from Meprolight, the brand new Mepro M22. Now this actually utilizes fiber and tritium technology to illuminate the red dot, and it does not use a battery whatsoever, making it almost have an infinite lifespan. Now the cool thing about this optic is it does utilize that technology with some advancements over the Mepro M21, and I was actually a pretty big fan of that optic. I picked one up used at a pawn shop a while back and had been running it for a while and ended up getting traded or sold with a rifle that I had a while back. And Mepro actually reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to take a look at the M22. And since I was a fan of the M21, I figured, yeah, I'd definitely take a look at it. Well, they shipped this one out. We've been running it, and I've got some strong opinions on this optic, so we are going to talk about it. Before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to AAC for sponsoring the ammo to help make this video. We ran their ton of 5.56 through this X95, and it was running great, but they also make 308 at some of the cheapest prices I've ever seen them, as well as 300 blackout in 5.7. Definitely check them out. They've been running good, and a huge shout out to AAC. All of my favorites, linking, and specials will be over on the campsite page at the end of this video in the description below. Definitely check it out, but let's dig back in. One of the first things that I noticed about this optic was it had a fairly decent sized viewing window. It was a little bit bulkier than most optics, but I believe that's because of the technology. And overall, the glass was fairly clear, but you do get a dark blue hue, a very dark blue hue. So it's something to notice right off the bat. The next thing I noticed about the original optic that was sent out to the channel, and I say original because this is the second, was it was incredibly dim, even inside where the fibers weren't working and the tritium was going to be taking over. I couldn't actually make out the reticle very well inside the house. Very difficult to see, very difficult if you were going to engage your target or take shots in a personal defense situation. And that wasn't even just standing in a dark part of the house looking in at a light part of the house, which can be tricky with this. It just felt like it was off. So they sent me a second Mepro 22 after I talked to them about it. And this one was a touch brighter, but it still just wasn't bright enough for most of the shooting engagements that you could possibly run into in your home in a stressful scenario, especially if you were using a weapons light. The weapons light will cause it to kind of wash out. Now, it's usable, it's just not great for me, so I don't want to completely knock it. At this point, I wasn't super thrilled with the performance of the optic, so I took it down to the range and ran some rounds through it. And depending on what time of day and what direction I was pointing, this optic was insanely bright. So if you were looking towards the sun, or if the sun was shining in one of the side ports while you were shooting down range, the optic was very, very bright. But if you turn just 50 degrees or 60 degrees, and then the sun was behind you shining on a target like a white target, it almost completely disappeared. Even though it was a bright sunny day, I still couldn't see the reticle on a white target. Now what I'm using on here is the bullseye reticle system. When I was using on the M21 is the triangle, and maybe that's because the bullseye is a lot larger area that has to be filled with light, and the light doesn't go as far in that area, and the triangle is a smaller shape, so it can be a little bit brighter. That might be a potential fix. Honestly, if I was recommending this for future use, I would stay away from the bullseye reticle and just go with the triangle, what I know and love from the Mepro M21. I thought this also might be a little bit different. I recently took a look at a Mepro 21, a new issue one at a local gun shop. It felt brighter than this M22. I didn't have them side by side to compare, but I had no issues in the shop with the Mepro M21. And honestly, I think the only difference may be some of the technology with the fibers, but it was the reticle. That M21 was utilizing the triangle reticle system. Now, I love the fact that this is always on and ready to go, and it's a cool feature. I just wish this was brighter. I wish there was other ways to brighten it up. Now, there may be things in the future that Mepro is doing. I'm in talks with them. Hopefully, we can figure something out. But as it sits now, this is a fun range optic. it would be a perfect prepping or bug out scenario optic if it weren't for the fact that if you were standing inside a house or you were standing under shade and then shooting out into bright, you're getting the shade type of sun illumination, but you're shooting at a bright white target. It just did not jive. There's too many scenarios where I went to go shoot something or went to go look down the optic and struggled to find the reticle. It's been holding up great. It's sighted in, it's held zero, it's an absolutely solid optic. It's got a long track record and history. I like the triangle dot version of this optic. I also want to give a huge shout out to Optics Planet for always supporting the channel. These guys actually have these on sale for $449 down from $599, and they've got the code 704TAC or 704TAC for 7% off, so they are affordable for the technology that's included. But my opinion is it's a cool optic, it's a solid optic. Get the triangle reticle system and you should be good with the brightness like on the original M21, but I'll keep updating you guys on the performance. But we'll see how it goes. Not my favorite, a little bit disappointed, but overall it's an interesting design, and I'll let you guys know if anything changes in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.